It's best to start at the beginning. When Alex was 13, his entire reality was confined to the glowing rectangle of a monitor. This is no exaggeration. While other kids were discovering the world through sips of cheap vodka and clumsy kisses in the back seats of their parents' cars, he lived in a digital twilight, hunched over a keyboard. His world was made of anonymous forums and echoing multiplayer lobbies, his eyes perpetually sore from the screen's artificial light. Loneliness was his constant companion. But it becomes almost bearable when you convince yourself that everyone else is a stranger, an actor in a play you were never given a ticket for. The internet was his stage. There, Alex could be anyone. Witty, brave, devilishly smart. No one could see his awkwardness, his greasy hair, or the way his voice would betray him, cracking like an old radio receiver. It was there that he met Dan. It all started with a random exchange on a late-night forum dedicated to horror games. Dan had replied to Alex's post about creepypastas, agreeing that most were cheap trash, except for those that burrowed into your subconscious with their terrifying plausibility. His username was disarmingly simple: Phantasm_88. No flashy anime avatar, no wall of sparkling GIFs, just a standard gray icon and a few surprisingly insightful comments. Alex didn't know why he replied, but he did. That reply grew into a dialogue, the dialogue into private messages, and soon they were in voice chats, then video calls. Looking back, Alex was astonished by how quickly the trust was built. Perhaps it was because Dan never pushed. He never laughed when Alex stammered, never begged for photos, and never seemed bored when Alex descended into a rambling monologue about some nonsense. With him, it was safe. By the time he was 15, Dan was closer to him than anyone in the real world. They grew up together, separated by hundreds of miles but connected by fiber optics. Alex could still recall his laugh, low and raspy, as if it belonged to someone much older. Dan claimed they were only a year apart, but Alex never pressed the issue. It didn't matter. They shared everything. Alex's first heartbreak? Dan stayed up with him in a voice chat until dawn, convincing him that the girl wasn't worthy of him. Dan's first job? He would stream his dreary shifts at a 24-hour convenience store, and Alex would keep him company while he mopped the same yellowed floor tiles for the 100th time. And then, as it always does, real life intervened. University, jobs, relationships. Sometimes months would pass between their conversations. Once, it was nearly a year. But every new chat started as if they'd just spoken yesterday. The last time they truly talked was about 2 years ago. Dan had been tense and quiet. He said he had family problems, but wouldn't go into detail. His camera was off that evening, a strange sign, as Dan always preferred to see who he was talking to. Alex didn't pry, figuring his friend would share when he was ready. And then, last month, Alex had just moved for a new job, a small alien town, not a single familiar face. He was unpacking boxes in an empty apartment when his laptop chimed softly. A notification from Discord. It was from Dan. The message was simple. Haven't kicked the bucket yet? Alex's heart skipped a beat. It was a strange, warm feeling, like hearing a song from a distant childhood you thought you had forgotten. They talked for hours that night, catching up on everything. Work, insomnia, headaches. Somewhere in the middle of the conversation, Alex worked up the courage to ask the question that had been haunting him for so long. "Listen," he typed, his fingers hesitating over the keyboard. "Why don't we meet? For real?" In response, there was only silence. The pause dragged on, long enough for Alex to become certain that Dan would disappear again. But suddenly, the notification indicating that Dan was typing appeared. And then, the message itself. "Yeah, I guess it's time." Alex's excitement was mixed with an inexplicable anxiety. Something in his words felt wrong. Dan didn't suggest a place, didn't ask about a convenient time. His only follow-up was a vague, "I'll let you know soon." A week later, an address appeared in his inbox. Not a cafe, not a bar, just a street corner in a town a 40-minute drive away. It seemed suspicious, but Alex convinced himself it was just paranoia. Wasn't this what he had wanted for all these years? So he went. The town greeted him with a ringing silence, as if frozen in time. Rows of brick storefronts, dark windows, boarded up doors. A main street where even the lampposts seemed tired of shining. Alex parked, checked the address again, and waited. 10 minutes. 20. 30. And then he saw him. On the opposite side of the street, under the orange, flickering light of a lamppost, stood a figure. Tall, in a dark hooded sweatshirt, perfectly still. Something about that silhouette made Alex's chest tighten painfully. The figure didn't wave. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching. Alex couldn't see the face, but some primal instinct told him it was Dan. His instinct screamed, "Drive away." His hand froze on the door handle, knuckles turning white, his heart hammering somewhere in his throat. He wasn't expecting a Hollywood scene, but at least a shy smile, a familiar gesture. Instead, a statue stood before him under a buzzing street lamp, casting a twitching, living shadow. Gathering his will, Alex forced himself to get out. He closed the door almost silently, as if afraid to break a fragile quiet. "Dan?" His voice broke. The figure tilted its head slightly, like a curious animal hearing a strange sound. And then it moved toward him. Up close, the inconsistencies were glaring. The hoodie looked faded, covered in strange, bleached-out spots, as if it had been left under the scorching sun for years. The jeans hung loosely, frayed at the knees, and his skin... God, his skin wasn't just pale. It looked unhealthy, like parchment stretched over nothingness. But when he spoke, the sound was right. That same raspy chuckle, the familiar intonations. Been a while, huh? Alex swallowed hard. Too long. For a moment, the tension eased. He even tried to smile. But then he noticed something that sent a chill down his spine. His lips didn't move when he spoke. At first, Alex blamed it on the play of light and shadow. But Dan continued, and the illusion shattered. His words were clear, but his face remained a mask. His mouth barely twitching, taking no part in the articulation. Alex laughed nervously, trying to quell the icy knot in his stomach. I guess you look different than I expected. Dan tilted his head again. Do I? His flat voice replied. Yeah, older, maybe. A dry, low chuckle escaped from somewhere within him. I guess we've both changed. They walked down the empty street. Dan didn't ask where his car was, didn't suggest going anywhere. He simply glided along the sidewalk, and Alex followed obediently, feeling like a complete idiot. He desperately tried to fill the silence. Remember Dead Horizon? I can't believe the servers are still up. I remember, he cut him off sharply. The response was too quick, almost mechanical. Man, the way we used to raid until 4 a.m. I remember. Alex fell silent. There was a metallic edge to Dan's voice now, as if the words were being forced out. Glancing at him from the side, Alex noticed something that made his breath catch. His eyes. They were empty, glassy, wide open. They weren't looking at Alex or at the street. They were staring straight ahead, as if following an invisible, long-memorized path. They stopped in front of a boarded-up storefront. Rotten wood, peeling paint. This was a diner, Dan said in a flat tone. I worked here. Once Alex frowned. Wait, I thought you worked at the convenience store. A pause, and then, as if from a script. I did, and I worked here too. I worked everywhere. The way he said it made Alex's skin crawl, as if the words were not his own. Alex forced a smirk. Well, that's vague as hell. And then Dan turned to him, his whole body. And Alex would have sworn it wasn't Dan's face. It was similar, yes. The line of the jaw, the stubble, even the scar on his chin. But it was stretched, like a mask sculpted from memory, but with errors. The smile, too wide. The eyes, too dull. The skin, too smooth where wrinkles should have been. "I'm glad you came," it said. And though the voice was Dan's, ice filled Alex's veins. For the first time he realized he had no idea who the hell he was talking to. That night, sleep was impossible. Alex lay in bed replaying every second, trying to rationalize what he'd seen. The bad lighting, the strange clothes, his own anxiety. But no excuse could erase the memory of the motionless mouth, the glassy eyes, and that almost but not quite face. It was like someone had built a replica of his friend from memory and hadn't gotten all the details right. By morning, he was desperate for something to ground him. He opened Discord and scrolled back through their chat history. Jokes, links, stupid memes. They were all still there. But when he scrolled far enough back, he found something he swore hadn't been there before. A message sent from Dan's account, dated almost 6 years ago. "Don't forget me." That was it. A single, lonely sentence. Alex stared at it until his eyes burned, because he knew he'd never seen it before. He would have remembered. He started digging through old hard drives, searching for proof that their friendship wasn't some bizarre fever dream. He found screenshots and clips from their late-night gaming sessions. Dan's voice on recordings, laughing at Alex's awful aim. His webcam feed in the corner, blurry but undeniably him. But the deeper he searched, the stranger it got. Some files were corrupted, refusing to open. Others played with warped audio, his voice stretched into a low, inhuman groan. And in one folder, a place he didn't remember creating, he found a video file. Dan_lastchat.mp4. The timestamp said it had been created 2 months ago. He hadn't talked to Dan in 2 years. His hand shook as he clicked it open. The footage was dark and grainy. Dan sat in his bedroom, the one Alex remembered, with the peeling posters on the wall. He was staring at the camera, unmoving. His face was slack, eyes glassy. For nearly a full minute, he didn't blink, didn't speak. And then, without his lips moving, that gravelly voice filled the speakers. "You said you wanted to meet." Alex slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen cracked. Had he imagined him, fabricated a friendship across his entire adolescence? Was he so lonely that he'd built a person out of scraps of forums and late-night dreams? In a final, desperate act, he Googled Dan's old username, Phantasm_88. This time he went deeper, searching through cached pages and web archives. Most of it was gone, scrubbed from the internet. But in a forgotten snapshot of the forum from 2012, he found a clue. A signature he must have used for a short time. Daniel K. Fear only feels real if you let it. Daniel. He copied the name into Google, adding the state he'd moved to. His stomach bottomed out. The first result wasn't a social media profile. It was an obituary. Daniel K., age 19, passed away unexpectedly in 2015. Alex couldn't breathe. He clicked the link. The photo was grainy, scanned from a yearbook, but it was him. The same crooked jawline, the faint scar, the same eyes. The obituary mentioned a car accident on a foggy night. Black ice. He'd been driving home from his shift at a convenience store. The date of death was 8 years ago. Alex had talked to him 2 weeks ago. The next day, he drove to the funeral home listed in the obituary. It was a squat brick building with peeling paint. The man at the front desk looked at him with weary eyes when Alex asked about Daniel. "You a relative?" "No, just an old friend." The man sighed, disappeared into a back room, and returned with a yellowing folder. Inside was a single page, a death certificate. Name, Daniel K. Age, 19. Cause, vehicular accident. Date, February 7th, 2015. The words blurred. The man cleared his throat. "You said you were a friend?" "Yeah," Alex croaked. "Online." The man gave him a look he'll never forget, a mixture of pity and unease. "You're not the first," he said quietly. Alex's head snapped up. "What do you mean?" "A couple of people have come through over the years. All said they were friends of his. All swore they'd talk to him. After." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Sometimes the dead don't stay put. Some of them linger, some of them change." Alex left. That night he sat in the dark, the obituary glowing on his laptop screen. Was the thing he met Daniel? Or was it something else? Something wearing his face? One thing was clear. His best friend had been dead for nearly a decade. He doesn't have long. He's typing this with the lights off, every lock bolted, a chair wedged under the doorknob. His laptop is the only glow in the room. Because he's outside. It started an hour ago. 3 slow, deliberate raps on his door that seemed to shake the whole apartment. Alex froze. Didn't answer. Then came his voice, muffled but unmistakable. "Hey, it's me. Let me in." Alex stayed silent, his heart trying to beat its way out of his chest. Another knock, louder this time. "You wanted to meet. I'm here." "You're dead," Alex whispered to the empty room. "You've been dead for years." And then, through the door, it laughed, that same gravelly chuckle. It's been 30 minutes. It hasn't left. Every few minutes, it speaks again. Sometimes soft and coaxing. Come on, don't be scared. Sometimes sharp and angry. You owe me. I gave you everything. And once, God help him, it was his own voice coming from the other side of the door. Please, let me in. His phone won't dial out, just static, like someone breathing into the mic. Discord won't open. The only chat still active is the one with Dan. It's typing now. Alex can see the notification blinking, a malevolent little pulse in the dark. Typing, typing, typing. It never stops. A moment ago he heard metal groaning. It's working at the lock. The chair under the knob trembles with each new pressure. And then Alex looked down at the floor. There's a shadow under the doorframe. It doesn't look like feet. It looks like hands, pressed flat against the floor, fingers stretching too long, bending the wrong way, dragging themselves closer. Alex doesn't know what will happen when it gets in. He doesn't even know if this is Daniel anymore. Maybe it never was. Maybe he was so lonely he built a friend out of code and wishful thinking. And now, something else has come to answer. All he knows is this: it won't stop knocking, and he's running out of time. If anyone reads this, if anyone knew him too, don't answer. Don't meet him. Don't let him in. Because once you do, it doesn't leave.